Okay, today we are going to can some beef. This is something that I thought was super hard and couldn't be done, but I've done it several times now and it's amazing and frees up a ton of freezer space. So here I've got some Phillips Ridge Farm cube steak, and our cube steak comes in from Bond's Processing in Royston, and it's £1 per bag. So this is a half a cow worth of cube steak. So we've got all our other supplies, and I'll go through each thing as we go. Now, one thing I will post links to all the stuff that you have to can meat. It's super easy. It's actually very addictive. This stuff I got from Amazon. It came on like a little kit, just the can lifter and stuff. And then I have the Presto canner, and one thing that I was very intimidated by was this canner, but it's super simple. I mean, it's easier to use than my Instant Pot is. The gauge comes here, and you just screw in the bottom, and then you just want to look through this part, the venting part that's right next. You want to look through that and make sure that you can see through it, which I can't really, that's where the venting happens. So you want to make sure that that works, or that that's open. And then this part right here, you want to make sure it moves up and down, because that's where you're going to actually get that seal. And when that pops up, that's when your timer, well, it's not when your timer starts, but it's when your pressure starts to build up. So we'll go through all that. My pot's kind of dirty right now, but it's just water spots. It's clean. This is inside of my pot, and I've got my pot liner. I've got a couple of these, but you can actually stack if you do pints. All we're doing today is 7 quarts. So I'm hoping all this meat fits in the 7 quarts. So I'll come back and show you how we start it up. Okay, I've got everything ready. Camera set up here. So this is my little funnel thing too. I forgot to mention that as one piece of equipment. So these jars I just took out of the dishwasher, so they're sterilized. I don't have to hand wash them or anything. I just bought these. Actually, my mom bought me these. They're the blue ones. They're really cute. So you just put this thing here on top, and then you start opening your meat. And I just kind of pour it in. I think these steaks are a little bit harder to get in because they're big pieces, but the funnel kind of helps. And I'm going to get a little bit of fluid everywhere, but I'll clean up afterwards. So I just open up the beef and start sliding it in. Just kind of squeeze it in there. It's kind of in chunks, so just drop it in. It's too thick, pull it apart. So you don't have to like cook this or anything. I put the blood in there with it. And just keep going. So take a piece out at a time. Some people will say you have to sear this, but I'm doing what's called a dry pack method, so because I like less work. I don't really have time to cook this first or sear it, but it tastes delicious even without any of that. So I think I can get, so I'm gonna want to take it up to the inner lining here. So it's 1 inch headspace. So 1 inch is basically where this bottom rim is, where my thumb is. And as you can see, I have a little bit of space still there, so I'm gonna probably just take like half of one and try to squeeze it in there. But you don't, when you do the raw pack, you don't want to like smush in the beef. You want to just kind of, you just want to kind of lay it in there and not pack it necessarily. So I'm right at 1 inch there, if you can see the beef, and so it's in there. It's not packed in tight, so there's space there. So you also want to put, if you want, you can put a teaspoon of salt in here. I'm going to do a teaspoon for every quart. This is a half a teaspoon thingy, so it doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'm going to take, so this is just hot water. A lot of people say you have to have them in like slightly boiling water, but I'll just take hot water. I clean these with soap and water first. These are my lids and bands. These you can reuse. These you can't. They're one time and throw away. So I just take your white vinegar. Has to be white vinegar to clean the best. Just clean the top of this really well because it helps the top seal. And so then I'm going to take my little magnetizer thing, which sometimes I just use my hands because it's quicker, but I like this little magnetizer too. And just pop it right on there, put it in place. Now, one thing when I started canning, I was like, what does fingertip tight mean? I had no idea, and I like kept trying to Google fingertip tight and nobody explained it. But it just basically means until it stops. So I've got my topper on there, and then I'm just gonna put that on, and that's fingertip tight. So when I twist it and it stops, that's it. And so I'm gonna do all 7 of my jars just like this. And so you can kind of see the meat in there, and this jar is ready to go. And this is room temperature, which is fine. Doesn't have to be all hot or cooked or anything. So I'm going to come back once I have all these packed and show you how to put them in the can. I almost got all my cans in. As you can see, they're all looking good. It took me about 10 minutes to do this. So now I'm just gonna pour my water in before I put all the cans in, but this kind of makes it pretty easy to feel. I kind of have to feel for the line because I can't ever see it. So just put water in up until the line. And I can kind of feel that there. So once I put these in, it should be good to go. Not a lot of water to put in here. So I've got all 7 of my quarts in there. So you've already looked through this. I haven't actually done that. Let me do that really quick. Okay, so once you look through that, you can see through that. You're gonna want to, this took me forever to figure out because really simple, but if you see that little arrow right there, that is supposed to line up with this part. So you just, and that's the only way that it will go on. Like that's the only option. So it pops and then you just slide it and it's sealed. Like it's seriously that easy. And I'm gonna turn the heat to high and I'm gonna let this start boiling, and then I'll come back and show you each step of what the canner does throughout each of the parts. We're gonna can it for 90 minutes at 10, the pressure of 10. So I'll be back when that gets going. So I'm just putting this on high and I'll come back probably about 15 minutes will take for this to start boiling. Okay, so this is about to pop up. It has been boiling for, well, it's been on the stove about 15 minutes. So. All right, there it is. Sometimes you have to wiggle it. So now you can see there's steam coming out. Alexa, set a timer for 10 minutes. So there's a ton of steam coming out right here. Can't really see it on the video, but it's really steaming there. So we're gonna let it do that for 10 minutes. And what that does apparently is get all the air out of the pressure canner. So we got 10 minutes on that and then we'll be back. What'd you find? Okay, so it's been venting 10 minutes. And I'm just gonna put this little plug thing on top of. So now it will start to build pressure. And I usually cut it down just a little bit. To about 8. Well, I have this is a glass top, so I put it, it's 1 to 10. 10 is high, so it's been on high this whole time. So I'm putting it down to about 8. And as you can see, look, the pressure's starting to build. And it's normal for some steam to escape here. And then it's also normal for some water to come out there. But I'll just keep going. I'll keep this on like 8 until it gets to about 5, and then I'll put it down to like 7. And it usually keeps climbing up, and then I let it sit right at 6-ish, But every stove is different. You just have to play with it. The important thing is not to like leave it on high, because what happens is if you leave it on high, it'll like shoot way above 10, and then you end up like going back and forth. So once I get to 10, the 90 minutes start, and you can't let it drop below 10, because if you do, you have to restart the 90 minutes. So nobody wants to do that. So you have to keep check on it. Usually what I do is I like set a timer for every 5 minutes, and I just get up and check on it once it gets to 10. And then like once I know it's kind of stable, I'll like check it every 15 minutes. So it's going up pretty quickly now. You can see it's already up. So this is 10 up here. Right here, you can't really see it on the video. Ow, that hurt. It's hot. The 15th, and then right at 4. So just waiting for it to keep up. So I'm gonna, almost to 5. So I will kind of put it down a little bit to 7-ish. Keep letting it climb. So yeah, so once this is done, once this is at 10 and it sits at 10 for 90 minutes, you just cut off the heat and you just let it sit. And it usually takes like 30 minutes for it to cool down enough for this thing to drop. So when this thing drops, I don't know all the terms, I'm sorry, but when that drops, you're good to open the lid. And you shouldn't ever remove this, ever, until obviously the little piece drops here, to speed things up, because you never want to try to speed things up in that regard, apparently. So, and that's just from like several other YouTube videos I've watched. So I'm not a professional, but this just shows you how easy it is to can meat. So I will do one final thing once we're done to show you how it turned out. And yeah. Okay, so we have now cooled. So we're still hot, but I'm gonna open up. Ooh, yummy. So here we are. Take the wonderful cans out. And so when you take cans out of the canner, you want to be sure that you don't tilt them. So you just want to lift them straight up and put them onto a towel. Yummy! Looks amazing, and it smells really good too. So yeah, I'll come back when these are cooled and show you the final product. Okay, we are finished. These have been sitting for 24 hours, and they look awesome. I'm gonna test the seal. And when you test the seal, you want to pick it up. Make sure it doesn't drop. So this is sealed perfectly. Make sure this little thing right here is brought down. So this will keep for years on your shelf. And as you can see, it kind of reduced a lot. This one's less, so but it looks amazing. Got some fat in there, which will just add flavor. So I usually wash these off with soap and water too. This is great for, you know, prepping for just food storage. You're gonna resist worrying about the freezer going out. I mean, it's just awesome. And yeah, highly recommend it. If you have any questions about this process, feel free to reach out, but I may not be able to answer them, but I can help you figure it out. And I hope that you will purchase a portion of beef. You can pick up your beef on a Friday, keep it in a cooler and can it. If you don't have any freezer space, you can spend all weekend canning the meat and still be fine. It comes flash frozen in the vacuum seal, but it will keep in a cooler for several days. I actually thawed this meat in my fridge for like 3 days. It still was kind of frozen even after 3 days in the fridge. So yeah, it's amazing, and I hope that you guys will support our small farm. And thank you so much for watching.